We keep talking about South Africa being the most unequal society in the world, which it is. But my question is, well, what are we doing to reduce this inequality? Are the mindsets and behaviors we are embracing and promoting helping to reduce this inequality? The wise Solomon once said, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior." Welcome to Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. I'm Katlego and would appreciate it if you subscribed to our YouTube channel, liked and shared this video with other citizens. For years, we have been convinced that Black people are just poor victims who cannot be, do, or achieve anything significant because of the whites, the Indians, the Jews, the anyone apart from themselves. But my question is, if the success of Black people is indeed hindered or controlled by other people, whoever the other people are, where were these other people when Black Coffee, a Black man who grew up in a township in Umtata, who was involved in an accident that resulted in him losing the use of his left arm, rose to become a successful DJ, record producer, songwriter, and businessman? Why did these other people not stop Black Coffee from learning to play music live for 7 hours with one hand? Why did these other people not stop Black Coffee from obtaining 8 South African Music Awards, 4 DJ Awards, 2 Metro FM Awards, and a Grammy Award? Why did these other people not block him from being booked to perform in Greece, Serbia, Germany, Spain, Jordan, Monaco for most of his year? Why did these other people not stop him from becoming a rand billionaire and dollar millionaire? Seriously, if the success of Black people is dependent on some external force outside of ourselves, how do we explain the success of Black Coffee? Is it because the white monopoly capital gave him a free pass? The racists took a liking to him and said, yes, you can become a billionaire. Is that the same with other Black successful musicians like DJ Maphorisa, Kabza the Small, Tyler, Zakes Bantwini, and many other successors? Are they puppets of the oppressors? Is that why they are making it? Of course not. These Black successors are examples of what the wise Solomon once said, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior." They decided in their hearts and minds that they wanted to be brilliant, successful, sought-after musicians. History of apartheid and colonialism or not, racists or not, most unequal society or not. They put in the time to work hard and smart on becoming great. Their actions lined up with their goals and they achieved what they sought to achieve. What am I saying today? I'm saying yes, South Africa is the most unequal society in the world. But our mindsets and behaviors are what will determine if this inequality ends or becomes even worse. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior. What type of thoughts and mindset are you walking around with? Do you think, believe, know, and behave like you can succeed, Black or not? Do you devote time into actions that will lead to your success? Maphorisa and Kabza the Small did not just get called to perform at international tours. No, they took time, hours, days and nights, weeks and months to master their craft. And when society saw that they had something valuable to offer, society had no choice but to allow them in and open up the stages for them. And of course, I'm not saying that they did not experience resistance from some racists, some evil individuals, and some gatekeepers. I'm saying that even when the racists, the evil people, the gatekeepers try hard to keep you down and out, if you master your craft, like really become good, someone will notice you and offer you value for the value that you offer. Because value is value, whether it is provided by a Black, white, Indian, or colored individual. Your responsibility is to put in the time and effort to master the art of providing value in some way, shape, or form. And when you do that, the inequality gap becomes narrower for you. When more Black people do that, the overall inequality gap in South Africa becomes narrower too. To help us make this point even clearer, let's take a look at the Jewish people. For years, Jews have been hated for the amount of success they have managed to accumulate more than other groups of people. But Jews were not always this successful. They too experienced oppression, discrimination, and prejudice. So I think they're a good example for Black people, especially Black South Africans, to learn from. In the Middle Ages, money lending for interest was universally condemned by the church, and there was a law that hindered Christians from engaging in this immoral business practice, and this opened up a gap for someone to fill. That someone would be a group of people who had been prohibited from almost every other trade. The Jews. The leaders in the community permitted Jews to fill this gap and perform managerial and commercial tasks that the ruling classes lacked the skill and desire to perform for themselves, causing the Jews to be the sole players in the industry, enjoying higher than expected profits and raising their living standards in the early medieval period. Not only did Jews take time to master a skill and industry that has led to their economic success, but even after economic success, they do not have a culture of buying phones, clothing, houses, and cars they cannot afford. They save and save until what they have saved has become capital enough to start a business.
It's preferable to be an owner than to be a worker. You keep 1/3 of your money in cash, 1/3 of your money in real estate, and 1/3 of your money in inventory. That way, if something happens to any one of your income streams, God forbid, you're hedged and you're protected.
They use family and religious connections to benefit each other.
We help our community. You know, this is something that people talk about that they don't like about the Jewish community. Well, I have other friends, by the way, from different communities, and they tell me that they literally try to destroy each other when it comes to business. They're not happy to see each other succeed.
Did you hear that? Saving what you earn and teamwork with like-minded people in your circle. Buying from each other, recommending each other, thus elevating each other. So Jews, a group of people that had been subjected to hostility, discrimination, and prohibitions, learned, mastered, and taught each other the trade to the point that it reached the financial success of that generation and generations to come. Today, others hate Jews because of how they have taken over the financial industry and have become industry leaders that make the most money in the industry. Question: if Black musicians or DJs happen to become the industry leaders making the most money in the music industry, maybe having a monopoly over Amapiano, for example, do they deserve to be hated and receive the same negativity that we have become comfortable with seeing Jews receiving for their mastery? I'm curious. Please let me know in the comments section below. Lessons from the Jews. They experienced anti-Semitism just as Black South Africans experienced racism and severe discrimination. They saw a gap in the market, played a role in closing that gap. They spent time learning how to be the best money lenders day after day, month after month, and it worked out and continues to work out very well for them. Individuals like Black Coffee, Maphorisa, and Kabza are in the same South Africa that has a history of racism and discrimination, the same unequal South Africa. Yet they saw a gap in the music market for the type of music that they are making, and they have been investing months and years becoming industry masters, and it is working out very well for them. It is up to them to make sure they put their money to good use, saving and using their connections to grow, avoiding the path that most Black musicians and athletes have a record for, wasteful and reckless spending only to come out later to say they are broke. We learn from the failures and successes of others to become the best. You live in the same unequal society as Black Coffee and Zakes Bantwini. One of the main differences between you and them is, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? What are you investing your time on? What are you becoming a master of? Remember King Solomon's words? For as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior. The examples we used have chosen to focus on amapiano and music, but will that alone reduce the inequality gap in South Africa? Let's take time to consider, where are the other gaps? Representation in corporate boardrooms, perhaps? Well, how about learning executive skills, doing a long or short course to learn more, watching videos on how to package and sell yourself better, how to negotiate for those salary increases you want, getting yourself a mentor who can advise you on these things?
I got not one but two male mentors, and let me tell you, one of them is a white man, and it is a career-changing experience because from the very get-go, when he became my mentor, the only thing he taught me to do is to negotiate. He's one of maybe 8 on my board of mentors, but let me tell you, he's the only one responsible for helping me negotiate compensation packages. Like, he's gotten me to ask for things that in my wildest and in my blackest dreams I would have never asked for. Why? Because he's a white man and he negotiates like a white man. And I remember when we were talking, as we got to know each other, I said to him, hey, I just want to learn how to negotiate like a white man. And that is what he delivered on, because he tells me whenever I have an opportunity come up, bring up your laptop and type out what I'm saying verbatim. And I literally clickety-clack, get to typing, and I say exactly what he would say when he's negotiating for a job opportunity. He tells me all the time, don't just look at the money, look at the entire package. What are they giving you in professional development funds so that you can pursue another degree if you choose to, or another certificate? How many vacation days are they giving you? 2 weeks? Nah, ask for 5. He tells me to ask for things, again, like I would have never imagined or thought to ask for as a first-generation young Black woman in the workforce. So all this to say, if you don't have a male mentor on your board of mentors, hell, if you don't even have a board of mentors, that's where you need to start. But you need to make sure you have one white male mentor, preferably 2 male mentors on that board of mentors, because they teach you things that you cannot honestly learn from people who don't have the same skill sets. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying Black female mentors don't have the same skill sets, because some of them know how to negotiate like badasses, and I love that for them. It's just that the white male mentor has the entitlements that I could never think of having until I met him.
We can complain until we are blue in the face about how South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, but it's pointless when we are not actively adopting mindsets and behaviors that will diminish this inequality. The beautiful thing is that this inequality gap can and must be diminished. It requires a certain mindset and investment of our time, but it can and it must be diminished. I mean, let's consider this. Are there no gaps for us as Black people to close in the current South African, and even global economies? We may not initially have the skills to close those gaps, but neither did Black Coffee, the Jews, or DJ Maphorisa. They were determined to learn, and they invested the time to learn. We have platforms like YouTube and TikTok where we can watch videos and obtain skills. Platforms like Grow with Google and Asana where you can gain skills through free online courses. Platforms like ChatGPT and Copilot where we can ask questions that we have regarding the gaps we may seek to fill. In as much as South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, certain Black South Africans have learned music. They've taken time to become experts in a genre of music. Now the world celebrates South Africans for their mastery in music. Black Coffee, Zakes Bantwini, Kabza the Small, Tyler Maphorisa, and many others. Why is it that in the department of music, we didn't say we can't succeed in music because of colonialism and apartheid and racism? Why not? Even in America, there are several complaints about racism against Black people. My question is, why are Americans not blaming racism and slavery when it comes to hip-hop, basketball, and American football? They have dedicated time and effort to mastering that, and they are leaders in those fields. But they are not masters of country music, swimming, golf, sciences, and governance because they have not devoted their time and action to that. A few of them managed to enter, but that's not what they are really known for. Unfortunately, they have also become masters of single-parent households, gang-related violence, drug dealing, and debauchery. That is why you see that people that sing vulgar, drug, and gang-related music are the ones that rise higher in the American black culture. We need to be careful of this right here in South Africa. I mean, you can even hear it in their music. These are the things they've chosen to devote their time to master, and no matter what, their communities will always be like that unless they choose to devote their time and work on something else. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior. A drunk and promiscuous society will listen to music that promotes that kind of behavior and hang out with people who think like that too. So you stay drunk every weekend and continue to make babies out of wedlock, sending them to live with gogo. These decisions are slowly piling up and adding to that inequality. And guess who you are going to blame for your problems and inequality? Colonialism, racism, apartheid. In spite of colonialism, apartheid, racism, black people can and must become masters in AI, robotics, economics, business, science, medicine, accounting, engineering, and many other industries if they want to rise above where they are right now. Whatever you've chosen to spend your time doing, learning, and actively pursuing through perseverance and hard work, you will likely achieve it. The question now becomes, what are you focusing on? In the first 6 years of Hitler's dictatorship, Jews felt the effects of more than 400 decrees and regulations on all aspects of their lives. The regulations gradually but systematically took away their rights and property, transforming them from citizens into outcasts, just like black South Africans. Many of the laws were national ones issued by the German administration affecting all Jews. When Jews excelled in sciences, they were oppressed in German universities. They were so oppressed that they were kicked out. But because they were so excellent, America took them in to use their expertise in science. And because of that, America was the first to produce a nuclear weapon when Hitler could have produced it first if Hitler hadn't been so anti-Jew. Hitler hated Jews for their success, and because of that, he missed out on a weapon that could have decided the war in his favor. When black South Africans excelled in music, they were living in the most unequal society in the world. But because they excelled at something, the world took them in. Stages in Paris, America, Milan opened up for these oppressed people. People of all races began buying tickets to see these oppressed people, to enrich these oppressed people. What is the point I'm making? South Africa is indeed the most unequal society in the world, where the majority group makes up the minority in terms of economic power. It may feel like by saying that statement 1,000,000 times over, we are making some type of difference, but are we really? What will make a difference for the majority, what will reduce inequality, what will lead to the economic success of the majority is what the majority is thinking about, spending their time on, and focusing on. What are you as an individual black person focusing on becoming a master of? What are you watching, reading, listening to, and doing to help you become a master in that field? Who are you associating with to guide and challenge you and hold you accountable as you become a master in that field? You, black girl or boy, black man or woman, can become whatever you want to be if you think about it, focus on it, train towards it, learn how to do it, advance in it until you become a master in it. White people keep working hard in spite of the racism of BEE. A lot of them have been losing out because of BEE, but look at Rivonia, look at Elon Musk. Learn from these examples and don't care much about racism, but about results. Why would I care about a racist person looking down on me when I live like a king? How much thought do you think Black Coffee gives to racists in South Africa? He's too busy working, succeeding, and enjoying the fruit of his labor. Instead of focusing only on what he had mastered, which was music producing, songwriting, and DJing, he went on to learn about investment and entrepreneurship, starting and owning his record label company, a music app called Gongbox, Yoko Card Machine, among other businesses. All this in an unequal society, mind you. Racism is in people's heads. You can't get rid of racism or hate in someone else's head and heart. Leave it to God and start devoting your mind, your time, and your work towards being a success in spite of the racists.
So your point on the distinction between racism and discrimination is, don't worry about racism. It's inside people's heads. You can't measure it. There's a strongly subjective, just forget about it, concentrate only on discrimination, and the best answer to discrimination is to let markets operate, because then people will discover, it will tend to militate against discrimination.
Oh, yes,
when people have skills to offer, they'll be employed. Whatever this notion of racism in people's heads is, don't worry about that. Is that right?
Yeah, what I'm saying essentially is that racists may prefer one race to another, but they prefer themselves to everybody else.
So they'll do what's profitable.
That's right. That's right.
Got it.
And
Okay.
that was even true in South Africa under apartheid, that there were hundreds of construction companies in South Africa that were fined in a government crackdown because they were hiring more blacks and in higher positions than they were allowed to under the apartheid law, because that was where the money was.
All right.
In addition to everything I've said in this video, one of the ways to fight poverty is to get rid of the ANC, which has made it hard for you to achieve your goals. Stay away from parties similar to the ANC. You know them, EFF, MK Party. Go for parties like BOSSA and those on the multi-party charter like ACDP, Action SA, DA, IFP, UIM, you name it. As a man thinks, so is he. You can think that South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, where the majority group makes up the minority in terms of economic power, and you can stop there. Or you can think about how you can make it even in this climate. I highly recommend the second option. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.